What's going on, everyone? Most of you follow this channel because you are somewhat related to medicine, and you may know me as Prereq, the medical student, but I am also doing an MBA, Master of Business Administration, at the Yale School of Management. It's a 5-year dual degree program, and recently I've been seeing a lot of interest from all of you about what it takes to do a business degree and how that adds on to your medical knowledge. So if you want to understand what it takes to get into business school, if you're just interested in business school, or if you're interested in business school as a subsequent follow-up to your medical education, which I think is absolutely essential, this video is for you. So let's get into it. This is going to be all about the stats of the Yale School of Management, like the GPA, test scores, demographic makeup, and we'll compare it to medicine at certain instances. So let's do it. I want to first start with the yield. What is the yield? Well, the yield is essentially the admission statistics, the big box of statistics. The class size at the Yale School of Management is about 349 people with a selectivity of 24% and a yield of 38%. So what does selectivity mean? So selectivity means that of the people that applied, 24% got in. So if 2,400 people applied, about 200 of them would get in. So in this case, the number of people who got in over the total number of applicants is usually selectivity. The yield, on the other hand, is an entirely different one. It's saying of the people who got in, what's the number of people that actually ended up coming? So the yield is actually 38%. So in this case, what it's saying is if 100 people were given acceptance to the Yale School of Management, 40 of them actually ended up matriculating, which is just a fancy word of saying actually committing to Yale to come to business school. So the other thing I want to point out is this for medical school is a little bit different. 349 is actually really big for a medical school class, but for an MBA class, it's actually relatively small. Schools like HBS, like Harvard or MIT, have more students than this. So on the MBA program level, 349 is a smaller school. Compared to med school, however, smaller schools are in the range of 60 to 100 students. So you can already see some of the differences here. The other thing about business school that's a little bit different is the acceptance rate or the selectivity for med school is a little bit lower than 24%. It tends to be, regardless of the med school, anywhere between 10 and 20%. But regardless, still a very tough admissions process. And just wanted to point that out as one of the small nuanced differences of what it takes to get into business school. With that being said, what are the demographics of the Yale School of Management? I hope you guys love these like little Handsome Dan doggos. Handsome Dan is the mascot here at Yale, so I figured I would include him on this slide just because he's so cute. But anyway, here are the demographics of the incoming class of 2021 at the Yale School of Management. 43% of them are women. 44% are international passport holders, and here's another big difference between MBA classes and med school classes. You have a much larger international presence because, as you may know, business is international. Medical school, on the other hand, is training physicians to be in hospitals, usually within the US, especially if you're doing medical school in the United States. The cool part of having many more international students in my business school classes is it opens me up to so many other experiences and the novelties of how the world is connected that I found it to be very enriching and enlightening to understand, like, okay, like here's how things are working in China, here are things are working in India. I've met entrepreneurs who are trying to do ventures in different countries, and it's so interesting to see how they're going about it in their particular markets. The other thing I want to point out here is about 20% are underrepresented students of color, but notice how over 50% total are students of color, and of that 50%, about 2/5 of that 50% are essentially underrepresented students of color. So very diverse population, which is very expected, but also a very broad group of people. And also 38 citizenships held by students and 41 languages spoken, with 31% of the incoming class speaking more than 3 languages, which is insane to me because I can barely speak 2 and keep my head straight. So just goes to show you the diversity, bigger class size, more international presence, but also a lot more to learn because, as I said, business is international. There's so many classes that have to do with international business, international law, international politics in business school, and all of that comes together to create a very enriching experience. Now, here is the next slide that talks a bit about the backgrounds of these individuals. So, of the 349 incoming students, 9% are joint degree students. So, what does that mean? Joint degree means that you're doing the MBA, but you're also doing another degree with the MBA. So, you can see that 10 students are doing an MPH and an MBA. You can see that 5 students are doing an MD MBA, like me, except I'm not in this class. I was in the class the year before, and we had 8. We had 8 MD MBAs. MD MBAs are getting increasingly more common as medical individuals realize that medicine is also a business and that there is a lot of room. If you don't already know business, there is a lot of room to learn the fundamentals and be a better doctor because of it. I am such a staunch advocate of the MBA because I genuinely think it's made me a better physician because I understand the supply chain process. I understand how cash flows through the system. I understand what leads to the shortcomings of people not being insured. We had a class on healthcare finance and economics, which taught me all about Medicare, Medicaid, and the advantages and disadvantages of a single payer system. That's an aside, but all that to say, a dual degree is very common within MBA because it is very, very helpful in almost any degree. We have 3 JD MBA students, which is law school and the MBA. We have individuals who are doing policy masters and then also doing an MBA. We have people who are doing masters of divinity. They're doing a PhD and then also doing an MBA. So there's a lot of joint degrees that are going to end up doing MBAs oftentimes. Yale is also unique in that it has a program called the Silver Scholars Program. One thing you may not know about business school is that it's very rare to go straight into business school without having any work experience. So you'll see that the average work experience tends to be around 4.4 years, which means you graduate undergrad, work for 4 years, and then you decide like you need an MBA to move up in your career, which is actually true for a lot of careers. So then people come back to do an MBA, and you can see how that's spread out across different industries here. But Yale also has a program called Silver Scholars. The Silver Scholars program is very unique at Yale because it allows you to go straight into MBA school right after you graduate. You do 1 year of business school, and then you work in industry, and then you come back to finish up your MBA. It's a very strategic move because it allows you to understand business, get some exposure, come back, finish up business school. And one of my smartest and coolest best friends is doing this program. And I can only tell you that if he's doing it, I can't imagine why other people aren't doing it because he's so damn smart and amazing. So all that to say, super cool program. Look into it if any of you are considering taking a gap year or maybe even doing an MBA first before you consider another career in healthcare. The Silver Scholars Program may be great for you. There's also 13 U.S. military individuals, which is great. Always great to learn from military. I have several military participants in my class, and it's so amazing to see their experiences and see what that has led them to pursue now. As I said, the work experience is about 4.4 years, and many people are coming from non-healthcare backgrounds. Because again, as I said, healthcare is usually you go to med school or some other school and then you do an MBA. But people are coming from everywhere. I have finally learned what investing means. I've learned what fintech means. I finally learned what investing means. There's so many things I've learned in business school because I've learning from people who don't come from healthcare, and that is a huge benefit. And last but not least, I know this is always what people love seeing, but let's talk about the academic profile of the class. The average GPA is about 3.66 with a high of 3.92. So again, people often tell you business school is not as academically competitive as med school, but it is still very competitive in terms of experiences, and you have to show that you're bringing something novel to the table. The average GMAT score is about a 726, which if you look here, you'll see that it's around 80 to 90th percentile, which is excellent. You do actually have to take the GMAT to get into business school. There are certain exceptions, like the MD MBA program at Yale gives you an exception if you show them that you've taken the MCAT already and you're already enrolled in the MD program here. But if you wanted to do an MBA program at another institution and you were doing an MD, you often have to take the GMAT because that's essentially like the MCAT of business school. The undergraduate majors are also very diverse, which I love. It's not just all STEMmies, and it's not just all humanities. You get a little business in there, you get a little bit of STEM in there, you get a little bit of humanities, and so it's awesome, man. I can't tell you enough good things. And then undergraduate schools represented 176, 9% first generation, and 14% already have completed graduate degrees, which is some level of master's or PhD. So I hope this was all very insightful for everyone. The business school world is something I'm slowly trying to get more into and share insights into because it's a big part of my life. It's changed the trajectory of my career, and I genuinely don't think I would be the same person without it. I feel grateful for it, and I really do think that if you think an MBA is right for you, please reach out, comment on this video, tell me what questions you have because I think it's useful for a lot of people. It's also not useful for a lot of people. Like, for example, if you just want to be in a lab and working on research all the time, MBA may not be as helpful. But if you see administration, you see being part of a big leadership forum as somewhat part of your future, it's important to understand accounting. It's important to understand cash flow statements. It's important to understand investing. So with all that being said, I hope this video was helpful. If it was, drop a like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching. Peace.